encourage these young people for serving us today. It's a wonderful job that they're doing. Man. So sorry you got to listen to the old guy for a while, but they'll be back up for one more song, and it's a great, great song that we're introducing today. How many of you already are aware of the song "Your Grace Finds Me" by Matt Redman? You've heard it on radio play? Yeah. So again, some of you, I've been listening to it for a number of months now. And when you go to YouTube, if you're familiar with YouTube, oftentimes they'll list how many times it's had viewed, or the playlist. You know, sometimes these things go viral and goes into the millions. I'm not sure where the Matt Redman song is, "Your Grace Finds Me," but I think it's a few 100,000. I'll have to check in that. But about half of those, about 100,000 or so, they're mine. So I've been listening to this song for a while. Really, really like it, and I think you'll see why. So we're starting this new series, Your Grace Finds Me, and it's going to lead us all the way up through Easter. And so some of you know, and for those that are guessing that, usually I go away on Thursdays and just go out to Fremont. And there's a place out there that I get to kind of have this room, and I do some reading and studying and praying, and then I'm working on messages. And so I've been drafting the messages for these Sundays coming up and that. So very, very exciting. In fact, next week, I'll make the plug up front here. We're going to look at Luke chapter 8, verses 1, 2, and 3. And it's kind of this little footnote that Luke puts in there about the women that support the ministry of Jesus. That just kind of a practical thing, that there's these women that Jesus gives gifts to, helps them with grace, and then they end up supporting the ministry of Jesus. Some finances is really what it's saying. And so we're going to look at next week how Jesus' grace is finding ladies. So it'd be a great week to invite any lady that maybe has been abused, violated, or just ladies that are just, you know, it's hard being a lady. And it's not going to be just for ladies. It's going to be for us men too, because us men are the ones that sometimes need to, how do we help the grace of Jesus find ladies, and how does the grace find us? So that's going to be next week. So this week we're going to look at this idea that Jesus' grace is relentless. That just Jesus is relentless. And I want to start off this message in this series, the first message of this series, with just this line that sometimes we'll say, and it goes like this: "I didn't see that coming. I did not see that coming." So if you're a March Madness fan, if you were watching the other day, there's a lot of Duke fans going, "I did not see that coming," that they lost in the first round to Mercer. Who's heard of? I did not see that coming. If you were watching the Wisconsin game last night playing Oregon, they did win. But I did not see that coming, how close it was going to be and how kind of heart attack it was going to be. Some of us, and probably many of us, we're saying over and over again to ourselves, "I did not see that coming" with Flight 370. With all the technology that we have and all the technology that are in these planes, and I'm one of these people that every once in a while get into one of these planes and fly from Chicago over to Seoul, Korea, and then from Seoul, Korea down to Thailand, that over this many days later that they still haven't found Flight 370. I mean, I did not see that coming. If you were with us last week, I talked about three chapters at the end of the book of Judges, Judges 19, 20, and 21. How many of you went last week home and read Judges 19, 20, and 21? Yeah, a few of you. How many of you were revolted by reading Judges 19, 20, and 21? I mean, it was just, there's just one. And so for most of us, I did not see that coming, that when we hear Bethlehem, and that's where the Judges 19, 20, and 21 kind of takes place, starts in the town of Bethlehem. And we, for all of us, it's, oh, little town of Bethlehem. We just have these wonderful, warm images of Bethlehem. When you read Judges 19, 20, and 21, all of a sudden it's like, ooh. Bethlehem had kind of this reputation for a while. And we just kind of said to ourselves, I did not see that coming. Or the other thing, if you've been reading with us through our Shift 15, and again, if you haven't been, you can always jump in. We switched it around a few weeks ago, so we're here in March, and maybe you're reading Ruth, maybe you shifted that a couple weeks ago, and we're in the Ruth series, and this week, if you did shift with that, then there's just a lot of shifting. I'm sure I'm confusing all of you, but we're finishing up the book of Genesis. And a couple of weeks ago, on one of our weekly emails that I sent out, I just had this question. Aren't you kind of surprised that Genesis 38 really makes it into the Bible? Because there's this idea, I did not see that chapter coming. Because chapter 37 of Genesis is the story of Joseph, and he's a young boy. It tells us, I think he's 17 or 18. You can go and check it out for yourself and see if the preacher is right or wrong. But he has these dreams that his older brothers, some of his much older brothers, are going to bow down to him. Again, imagine your little brother, your little brother telling you, someday you're all going to bow down to me. So, you kind of see some of that coming of what's going to come in chapters 39 and on to the end, to Genesis chapter 50, which we'll be kind of wrapping up. But Genesis 38 just kind of breaks in there, and it's about Judah. And Judah is the fourth born of Jacob. There's 12 children. Joseph is like number 11. He's going to have a little brother, Benjamin, that will be number 12. But Judah is the fourth one. And there's this Genesis 38. This is about Judah's sons who are put to death because they're so wicked by God. And then Judah does something with a wife of one of the dead sons that ends up in the whole story of the Bible. And you're just like, gosh, I did not see that coming, and I wish I didn't see that coming. So there's some of that just kind of happens in the Bible, and that. And sometimes why we would say, I did not see that coming, is because it goes against how most of us think about this life that we live in. Most of us really kind of operate with this logical principle. Good comes to those who do good. Bad comes to those who do bad. So at times, if we see something bad happening to good people, we'll say, oh, I didn't see that coming. Or if something good happens to bad people, we will say, oh, I didn't see that coming. But what if grace is something different from good happens to good people and bad happens to bad people? What if grace is, I didn't see that coming? Could it be that we really don't experience grace until we have that statement kind of going through our minds quite often? I did not see that coming. Because most of us really, and I'm in this too, lots of times I think just, God's good graces are going to happen to me because I'm a good guy. I'm a good pastor. I read my Bible. I drew up Shift 15. I've been serving for a lot of years. Just good things should happen to me. God's grace should come to me. But over and over, I keep having this thought. I did not see that coming. I did not see that coming. Grace is something more than good. Grace is something more than bad. Grace is something almost altogether differently. I think the more we have that thought, I did not see that coming, God's great grace happening in me, maybe we haven't experienced grace. This morning we're going to look at the opening verses of Luke chapter 19. And I think it's one of these deals that we really would end up saying over and over and over, gosh, I didn't see that coming. I did not see that coming. I don't think the main character, besides Jesus, I think Jesus, he's Jesus, but the person, Zacchaeus, I don't think Zacchaeus saw it coming. I don't think the people that witnessed it around Jesus and around Zacchaeus, I don't think they saw it coming. But it's one of these things that it came. It really did come. But it's grace. It's grace. And then one more thing about this Shift 15 deal. So we're going to be moving into the Gospel of Luke here on March 27th, and then the New Testament letter Colossians. And that's going to take us through the last few days of March and then into April. And then when we get into Holy Week, I kind of jumped out right before Holy Week. I jumped out of Luke 16 and jumped into Luke chapter 22 to kind of read 22, 23, and 24, which is really about Jesus and the Holy Week and all that kind of stuff. And then then we kind of go back and pick up where we left off on April 8th. And so I'm looking at it this week, and I was looking at all of Shift 15 and all of Luke, and the genius behind creating this forgot Luke chapter 19. So to make up for my error, I'm going to preach on Luke. No. So again, if you're doing Shift 15 and these are available there on the usher's table or out in the entryway, it would be a great time to just jump in whenever and just read Luke 19 because it's in the Bible. So Luke chapter 19, here's... Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through, and there was a man named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was rich. He's a chief tax collector and rich. Again, we've oftentimes read that. We've heard that over and over and over again. Tax collector or rich, tax collector or rich, And right away, we just kind of don't like this person. We're going to see here in a moment. He was seeking to see Jesus, who Jesus was. He's heard some stories. He's heard some stories somehow, some way, and he heard that Jesus is going to be passing through. He's going to be on his way to Jerusalem. Again, this is Luke 19. The Gospel of Luke ends with chapter 24 after the couple of chapters on the whole last couple days and some of the last hours of Jesus. And so he's heard some things at this time, and he's seeking to see who Jesus was, but on account of the crowd, he could not because he was small of stature. If you grew up in church world and Sunday school world, maybe you've heard a song. Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. He climbed up in a sycamore tree for the Lord he wanted to see. How many of you saw that coming? How many of you know that song? How many of you are going to be really mad this afternoon when that song is still in your head? But again, over the years, as I've pictured this, and it's just something that really doesn't take us a stretch to think. Because how many of us are big fans of the IRS of today? None of us. So it's just coming like a tax, anything that has to do with tax. Like, ugh. So he's a short guy, he's a tax collector, and he's rich. Do you like him? I just kind of picture him. He's a weasel. He's a little beady-eyed weasel. And he's got dark eyes, and he's just greedy. One of the amazing things that I've thought of again over the years is how weird it was for this short man who's rich climbing a tree. Because I don't think he was like 20-something. I think he was more like probably 40-something or maybe even 50-something. He's been a tax collector. He's kind of the chief tax collector, and he's rich. He didn't do that just overnight. He's done it over the years, and now he climbs a tree. Picture a banker in a businessman suit up a tree. But there's something about him wanting to see Jesus. I was reading a book a few years ago that maybe explained a little bit of this, why it wouldn't be that he would just kind of, be there in the crowd somewhere as Jesus is passing through. Because the people around him in that crowd would possibly take that as an opportunity to get in a free shot. I mean, if you got a bunch of people, they're all out there wanting to see Jesus, and here's this short little tax collector, and he's in the midst of the crowd, what would it take to just kind of surround him up, and then when he gets in the middle, and there's just all kinds of people around him, I mean, you can get a few shots in, and maybe that'd be a time even to use a knife. So Zacchaeus has enough knowledge to go, these people don't like me, and if I'm going to see this Jesus at all, if I have any opportunity to see this Jesus at all, I'm going to have to go up a tree. And so we read here, so he ran ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was about to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today. So he hurried and came down and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, and the they is the other people around Jericho, because they knew who this is. And they did not have happy thoughts. We read here, and when they saw it, they all grumbled. Jesus has gone to be the guest of a man who is a sinner. And a little while later, we hear this. Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor, and if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I restore it fourfold. And Jesus said to him, Today salvation has come to this house, since he also is a son of Abraham. And then this famous verse, maybe a verse that we have memorized, or maybe a verse that would be good to just memorize, and it's not hard to memorize, because the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. The Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. The Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. I did not see that coming. I did not see that coming when the Son of Man came to seek and to save me, who was lost. Maybe if you get this grace thing into you, you're going to start realizing that I did not see that coming for me, that the Son of Man came to seek and to save me. I did not see that coming. So with this in mind, I want us to ask a number of questions of ourselves. What was Zacchaeus' waking thoughts that graceful day, that fateful day? When he woke up that morning, what was his thoughts? Maybe it was something like, it's another day. I'm going to go out and do the business at hand. There's the things that I've got on my to-do list. Maybe Zacchaeus has a number of employees. And he also knows that, as I wake up today, I'm going to get a lot of looks from people as I'm going to the office, as I go to lunch. Because people know who I am in this town. And whenever they see me, I see a lot of them just kind of turn and spit in disgust. So he knows that. He knows, again, he's someone that, as he was growing up, and sometimes someone that's short of stature, just sort of has a chip on their shoulder. He realized that, he wasn't going to be the strongest, he wasn't going to be the fastest. But his mind worked really well with numbers. And when he was able to not get, manly employment, as we might say, maybe he just thought, my only opportunity is going to hire myself out to the Romans. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that don't like me. But man, my mind just is with the numbers. I don't know what else to do. So maybe he just has some of these thoughts, but then he's heard some of these stories about Jesus. And then maybe from some conversations that he has a little later that morning, he hears there's a rumor going on that Jesus and his disciples are going to pass through Jericho. They're on the way to Jerusalem, kind of for the last time. And boy, this again, he wouldn't know that at that time, but maybe this is my opportunity to at least, if I can just lay eyes on him, just to see what all the fuss is about. And so again, when he woke up that morning, he didn't have any idea of what was going to happen that day. Then asking this question, how about the thoughts of the people of Jericho towards him? Well, I've already pretty much made that clear. Again, when people see him that day, they just don't like him. They see that he's rich, and it looks like a lot of good things are happening to him, but they're waiting because they know he's bad. They know at some point the justice of God is going to strike him, and they can't wait. I think that's what's going through their thoughts. That they're just, again, he's living against this whole principle that good things happen to good and bad things happen to bad. He's a bad person and good things look like they're happening to him, but it's just a matter of time. Maybe you've had some of those thoughts sometimes about other people. I know I have. But how about the thoughts of Jesus before? Again, the whole premise of this series is that Jesus is just relentless. That his grace finds people. His grace finds Zacchaeus. His grace finds people after Zacchaeus. His grace is still finding people today. His grace is wanting to find people here on this March 23rd, 2014 at the 10:30 worship celebration here at New Hope. His grace is finding you. And Jesus is relentless because Jesus knows that Zacchaeus has a soul that matters to God. And Jesus, as he looks at us today, he knows that we have souls that matter to God. And his grace is relentless. His grace is relentless. His grace is relentless until we say to ourselves, I didn't see that coming. I thought I already had grace because look at all the good things. Look at all the good things that I do. But I didn't see that coming. That his grace overwhelms me in ways that, well, it overwhelms. And then asking this question, what were Zacchaeus' going to sleep thoughts that graceful day? As he lays his head down on the pillow that night, there in the town of Jericho. And then as he's fading off to sleep, maybe he's saying to himself, I didn't see that coming today. But man, am I glad it did. And I think Zacchaeus is going to experience that not just once, but again and again and again. Because as we know, Jesus, as he leaves Jericho that day, he's going up to Jerusalem. Zacchaeus is going to hear the story of what happens to Jerusalem. Maybe he's even up there for the festival of the Passover. He hears about the cross. He hears about Jesus dying on the cross. He hears about Joseph of Arimathea, another rich person that takes the body of Jesus and puts it in a tomb. He's going to hear about how some ladies go to the tomb on Easter Sunday morning, that we know as Easter Sunday morning, and the stone was rolled away and his body wasn't there. He's going to hear the stories of how Jesus started appearing to the disciples, how he started appearing to others, and how for 40 days he was kind of in and out appearing to people. He's going to hear that 40 days after that Jesus ascends into heaven. He's going to hear about that first message that Peter gives in Jerusalem and Pentecost happens. He's going to hear. And over again, I think he's going to keep realizing and experiencing grace, grace, grace. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that coming that he goes to the cross. I didn't see that coming that he goes to the tomb. I didn't see that coming that he raised from. I didn't see that coming that he is in. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that. I didn't see that. I didn't see that coming. But man, am I glad it did. Zacchaeus would never get over grace, and he would repeat often, I did not see that coming for me or for so many others. We're going to ask this question. How about the thoughts of people of Jericho towards him after that fateful day? He's still a tax collector. So I think the people there were still thinking good things just shouldn't happen to him. He's bad, he's bad, he's bad, he's bad. And just, they just don't see that he's got a soul that matters to God. They don't see at times that Jesus' grace is relentless. It's relentless for them too. But they're so locked into that good things happen to good and I'm good and bad things happen to bad, but sometimes that equation just somehow doesn't work and I don't like it. I don't like it that Zacchaeus got grace. I don't like it. And what about the thoughts of Jesus after this fateful day, this graceful day? I think the thoughts of Jesus that night when he lays his head down and he's thinking about what happened that day and his encounter with Zacchaeus and having some food at his house and hearing what Zacchaeus says to him and what Jesus gets to say, and the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. I think maybe Jesus is just thinking as he lays his head on the pillow that night, yes, yes, another soul that matters to my God, matters to me. Grace, grace, grace. in this question. What are the thoughts of Jesus for us? For us that oftentimes operate on good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people. And when good things happen to me, it's because I'm good. But man, can we miss the grace. But the thoughts of Jesus for us are grace. Here's grace. I'm going to keep pursuing you relentlessly with my grace until I hear from you. I didn't see that coming. But man, am I glad it did. I didn't see that coming, but man, am I glad it did. That's Jesus' thoughts for each one of us. His thoughts are yes, 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 another soul, another soul, another soul, another soul, another soul, another soul today. His grace is relentless. I want to end by looking at one verse from Psalm 51, the opening verse. And this is just a verse that, again, read it 100 times, if not 1,000, and thought. But over the last couple weeks, getting into this whole message series and this Your Grace Finds Me, this verse has just kind of caught me. Can some of you know the background story of Psalm 51? Psalm 51 is David's confession after living blindly in sin for probably well over a year, maybe longer. And it's the whole sin of him committing adultery. It's the whole sin of him committing murder. It's the whole sin of him kind of covering it up, using his political power, using his financial power to do all of this. Just all kinds of just ugly, ugly, ugly sin. Again, David was this good guy. David was this one that, took Israel from this little puny country into the most powerful country of the world in that day. All because of David's gifts that God had given to him. But finally, when the grace broke through, because he didn't see it coming until he saw it. And so when he starts making this confession, he doesn't really talk much about himself at all. But he talks about the greatness of God. He writes, "Have mercy on me, O God, not because I finally realized the errors of my way, not because I'm now making a good confession to you. Have mercy on me, O God, according to your steadfast love. According to your abundant mercy, blot out my transgressions. Your grace has found me again." It's not the first time that the grace of God had found David. But it's an important time that God's grace finds him again. And we'll find him again. And we'll find him again. And we'll find him again. Jesus' grace is relentless for souls that matter to God. Souls like mine. Souls like yours. Souls like Zacchaeus. I didn't see that coming. And sometimes I don't like that it came for other people. Like a Zacchaeus. Like some people that I know. Like some people that you know. But how is it that we can always be glad that I didn't see that coming, but I'm sure glad it came for me? How would it be if I didn't see that coming for me. I didn't see that coming for others. But there's something about the grace of Jesus. And I'm sure glad it came, not just to me. I'm glad it came to me. I'm glad it's coming to so many others. Because over and over again, Jesus shows that his grace binds us. His grace binds us. His grace binds us. Will you stand with me? We're going to pray a prayer, and then we're going to sing this new song to some of you, Your Grace Finds Me by Matt Redman. And there's some great imagery in this song. The words of this song are awesome. And when we end the song, we're breathing in the grace. We're breathing out the praise of God forever. Many of you who know me, you're going to see right away why it is that I like this song. We're going to be singing it over the next number of weeks as we approach Easter. I would encourage you to tune in to the radio station to maybe hear it, or go to YouTube and start adding to the playlist. See if you can catch up to my 100,000. Let's pray. So Jesus, your grace is relentless. And I'm sure glad it's been relentless for me over all the years. And I'm sure glad it's going to stay relentless for me throughout the remaining of my years until I'm with you in glory. And I'm sure glad, Jesus, that your grace is relentless for all the people that are here this morning. So Jesus, may your grace continue to be relentless in all of us until we would have that epiphany, that moment, that light bulb when it comes on. Oh, I didn't see that coming, but I'm sure glad it did. So Jesus, may your grace over and over again overwhelm us and thrill us. We ask it, Jesus, in your most holy and blessed name. Amen.